Welcome in, you beautiful soul. Everyone knows the stories, the grand pronouncements, the dramatic confrontations that have echoed through millennia. We see them in our minds as epic paintings, the parables, the miracles, the teachings of Yeshua. But behind the monumental figure of our imagination was a man, a human being who lived a life filled with ordinary moments. Have you ever stopped to wonder what daily life actually felt like for him and for the women who walked beside him, who sustained his ministry with their work and their faith? To find out, we have to set aside the stained glass and step into the dust and sunlight of first-century Galilee. Imagine waking up, not to an alarm, but to the first pale light filtering through a high window, the air cool and still. The home is a simple one-room structure of stone and packed earth where sleeping mats are rolled up to make space for the day. Mother Mary, or perhaps Mary Magdalene or Susanna, is already at the hearth, kneading dough for the day's flatbread. The rhythmic work of her hands is a morning prayer in itself. The scent of baking fills the small space, not the sweet smell of modern loaves, but the earthy, nutty aroma of barley and wheat ground by hand just hours before. Breakfast is simple, fuel for a day of walking and teaching. Perhaps a handful of dried figs, a piece of the warm bread dipped in a drizzle of olive oil, maybe a bit of goat's cheese if the flock's been generous. Water is a precious commodity, drawn from the village well, cool and slightly sweet, carried home in heavy clay jars balanced on the shoulder or head. And with that, water comes cleanliness. Not the luxury of hot showers, but ritual washing. This wasn't just about hygiene. It was a physical act with deep spiritual meaning in Jewish life, a way of preparing oneself to encounter the holy in the everyday. Hair was often kept long, washed with herbal rinses of rosemary or thyme, and carefully braided. The women especially took pride in their braids and their handmade perfumes, a touch of myrrh or spikenard, a precious luxury. Now let's consider what they wore. Clothing wasn't a fashion statement. It was a practical necessity, a reflection of their world, often made within the home itself. The fabrics were born of the land. Wool from their flock spun into thread by hand on a simple drop spindle, a constant rhythmic task that filled the quiet moments of a woman's day. This thread was then woven into cloth on a simple loom. Picture Yeshua not in the flowing, pristine white robes of later art, but in the simple garments of a Galilean craftsman. His primary garment would be a tunic, a chiton, likely made of undyed wool, the natural colour of the sheep that dotted the hillsides. It would have been coarse to the touch, durable and functional, reaching to his knees. Over this he would wear a mantle, a himation, a larger rectangular cloth that was the true all-purpose garment. It was a coat against the cool evening air, a blanket to sleep under on a dusty roadside, and a shield from the relentless sun. A simple leather belt would cinch his tunic, perhaps holding a small pouch. The women who followed him, Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Susanna, would have dressed similarly yet distinctly. Their tunics were longer, reaching their ankles, offering modesty and protection from the sun and dust. They too would have worn mantles, often using them to cover their heads as a sign of respect and piety, especially in public or during prayer. Colour was rare and precious. Most clothing was the natural off-white, grey or brown of the wool. But for those who could afford it, there were dyes from the earth, madder root for a muted red, pomegranate for yellow, and the highly prized indigo for a deep, rich blue. And on their feet, not shoes but sturdy leather sandals, simple soles held to the foot with leather straps, made for walking on uneven, rocky paths. They didn't protect from the dust, they embraced it. The dust of the Galilean roads was a constant companion, a gritty testament to their long journeys. This is why the act of foot washing was so profound. It was an intimate gesture of hospitality and humility, washing away the grime of the world. This was their world, alive with scent and texture. The sharp tang of sheep, the smoke of olive wood fires, the daily work of stirring lentil stew or grilling fish caught that morning from the lake. It was simple, honest labour, and it was sacred too. Every act, from baking bread to weaving cloth, from drawing water to washing feet, was a way of living out faith in the most ordinary moments. So next time you read those ancient stories, remember this. Remember the feeling of coarse wool on sun-warmed skin. Remember, these were real people, with dusty feet and calloused hands, sharing meals and laughter, making do with what they had, finding God in the grain and the thread. The sacred wasn't separate from daily life. It was woven into the very fabric of it. And maybe, just maybe, understanding their humanity is the most miraculous thing of all. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe for more.